Don't just watch this video, learn from it.
Welcome to my channel, guys. Thanks for checking it out. This is my first attempt at making a poker vlog, so I hope you enjoy it. For this one, we are at the Downstream Casino Resort, which is one of my regular spots to play poker. This poker room offers 1-2, 2-5, and occasionally a 5-10 game, but my bankroll is not quite there yet. I take my seat with $300 at a full 1-2 table that just opened up, so all the stacks are pretty even. One of my first hands, I'm dealt King 10 offsuit in the low jack. I raise it up to $7. At first, I prefer to play things a little slow and get a feel for the table. Hijack, cutoff, and button fold. Small blind, big blind, and under the gun +1 make the call, so we end up going 4 ways to the flop in position. The flop is queen, queen, jack, rainbow. It feels good flopping an open-ender that could turn into a monster, all while in position on 3 opponents. All 3 players check to me, and I can see merit in betting now and trying to build this pot up, but I go ahead with a more passive approach and check this one for a free card. The turn is the king of hearts, adding flush draws to this already connected board. When it checks around again to me, I lead out for $10. Small blind, big blind, and under the gun +1 make the fold. We end up taking this one down with just a $10 bet. It's not much, but it's the first hand I've won at the table, and it gives me a boost of confidence. Feels good seeing chips pushed our way. I've noticed the majority of players at this table are very passive. A way to adapt to passive players is opening a wider range of hands and folding more often to 3 bets and aggressive plays by tighter players. A couple orbits later, I get dealt pocket queens in the cutoff position. We have a couple players limp in, and I raise it up to $15, which I would consider to be a very standard sizing in most 1-2 games. The button folds, along with the small blind and big blind. The limpers end up folding as well. We also take this one down. Getting dealt a premium hand with no action can be a little frustrating, but it still feels good adding a few more chips to my stack. I go card dead for another couple of orbits, and I lose some money paying to see some flops that I probably shouldn't have been in, but because of how passive this table is, I'm able to do so and not lose too much money. I didn't connect on any boards for a while, and I'm starting to get a little antsy to make something happen. As you'll see later in this video, it's always best to stay patient at the tables. I get dealt King-Jack offsuit in early position. I raise it up to $7. Under the gun +2 calls, hijack calls, and the button calls. We're headed 4 ways to the flop, this time out of position.
One white, rest green, please.
The flop comes Jack, 10, 9 with 2 hearts. We flop top pair with a good kicker, backdoor flush draw, and a backdoor straight flush draw. I would prefer to take this one down now, so I lead out with a $20 bet. Since this table has played pretty small pots, I'm expecting this bet to get some players to fold. Under the gun +2, hijack, and the button all end up making the call. The turn is the 2 of hearts completing the flush. I go ahead and slow down and check the turn, which I would also do a lot of times if I did make a flush. We have blockers to king-queen, so I could still be ahead here with top pair, or at least still have some outs if I'm up against 7-8, queen-8, or other smaller flush draws. Under the gun +2 leads out for $40. Under the gun +2 is the only player at this table that I've seen attempt to bluff and steal some pots, so I'm a little more concerned about the other players. The hijack folds. The button thinks it over for a while and ends up making the call. I don't think the button has a flush, and now I have a decision to make. I can call, fold, or raise. If I put in the check raise here, I'm going to look very strong and be representing the flush. But I'm also getting a good price to call. I end up just calling the $40 here. Looking back now, I think a raise is more effective because there are a lot of rivers that can leave me with a tough decision to make. Like the ace of clubs. I'm basically giving up if I check this spot here, so I decide to put my opponents to the test and shove all in. Under the gun +2 calls instantly, removing my will to live. I immediately regret my decision, and I feel like an idiot. Given the way this hand is played out, I can't see any way in which I end up winning this pot. The button seems to have a really tough decision to make. The only thing I can do now is wait patiently while the button makes his decision and try to give away as little information as possible. Sometimes poker can be a fast-paced game, but a lot of times you're left sitting with your own thoughts. Thoughts like, why did I shove all in this hand? Once he gets a count of my chips, he realizes that he can't fold to this price and ultimately ends up making the call. My assessment was halfway correct, though. The button shows that he flopped the straight and does in fact have king-queen, while the other opponent only has ace-jack for 2 pair. Neither opponent has the flush, and the button tells me that if we were heads up, he would have folded, but he was getting such a good price. If we had raised or shoved on the turn, we probably would have taken this one down. So close. I buy back in for another $300, and I'm a little mad at myself for trying to make a move. But I tell myself, don't worry, I'll catch a break. Just have to keep my eyes open. In this hand, I'm on the button, and our table has agreed to a button straddle of $5. I look down at ace-king offsuit, and suddenly I'm feeling hope again. And like Andy Dufresne said, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things. I might have an image of someone that's slightly tilted, and that I could be opening from the button with any 2 cards, but I'm actually towards the top of my range. I get a couple players limp in for $5, and when action is on me, I raise it up to 15. Under the gun +1, under the gun +2, and hijack all call the 15, and we end up going 4 ways to the flop in position. I've got a good feeling about this one. The flop is 7, 2, 5, rainbow. It's about as dry as it gets. I don't want to try to make any moves, so when it checks around to me, I go ahead and check this one also. The turn is the 9 of clubs, putting a flush draw out there. Both under the gun players check. The hijack leads out for $20. I don't feel like giving up yet for that price, so I make the call. Under the gun +1 calls, and under the gun +2 calls. We're going 4 ways to the river, which is a 10 of hearts. Both under the gun players check again. This time the hijack leads out for $30. I fold my ace high, and I'm getting frustrated that I'm not connecting with the boards. The hijack lets us know that he's got it, and he shows 7-9 for 2 pair. It's starting to feel like today is just one of those days, and that I should wrap this session up. So I tell myself I'll play one more orbit of the button, and then get out of here. This last hand is honestly one of the craziest hands I've ever been a part of, and I'm so glad that I got to record it. For this one, I'm on the button with a $5 button straddle, and I look down at 5-2 of diamonds. This table has been very friendly and talkative, and everyone seems to be having a good time. Tables like these are what make poker enjoyable, whether you win or lose. When it limps its way all the way around to me, I decide to keep things friendly and check as well. It's our first family pot, so we're headed 9 ways to the flop in position. The flop is ace, 3, 4 with 2 clubs. We flop the absolute nuts in a 9-way hand, and the small blind is leading out. What a dream spot to be in, and to think I was just about to walk away. When the big blind raises to $70, I want to stand up and hoot and holler, but I've got to keep my composure. I can't give away anything. At this point, my heart is pounding so hard in my chest. Under the gun +1 folds, but under the gun +2 calls the $70 as well. How does everyone have a piece of this flop? I'm hoping I'm up against multiple flush draws and that these opponents have each other's outs. It folds around to me, and the only thing left to do when you have the best hand possible is to rip it all in. The small blind shoves as well. The big blind is all in for less. Now action is back on the under the gun player, who just called the $70, and he seems shocked at what is happening. He's not going anywhere for that price, though, and he is all in for around $200. Now we have a four-way, all-in pot with over $1,000 in the middle. It takes the dealer a few moments because he has to make multiple side pots for the big blind and under the gun player, who don't have us covered. But if we are able to hold this one, we stand to win all of it. I table my cards because there is no more action and I don't want to slow roll anyone. I let them know that I have the best hand for now. I see that I'm up against a flush draw on the small blind. The big blind has ace-3 for 2 pair, and the under the gun player states that he needs the board to pair, so I assume he has a set of 3s or 4s and is looking to improve to a full house. The dealer has to get a count of everyone's chips, and once he is sure that all the side pots are correct, we're ready for the runout.
Well, you cannot go broke this hand.
The turn is a board pairing 4, absolutely crushing my soul. I cannot believe it. The under the gun player flips his cards over and says that he has 3 pair. When I look down and see that he has ace-3, I'm a little confused. I check the board again to make sure that we faded the flush draw, and then I check the other 2 players' hands, and they both have ace-3. I check the board and their hands multiple times. There is no full house. There is no flush. We have the winner, and all of the chips are headed our way. And just like that, we are up hundreds of dollars on this session. I stick around for a few more hands, and then I cash out for $1,149. Let me know what you thought of this video, and if you'd like to see more. At the end of the summer, I'm going to be headed to Boston, where I'll be playing at the Encore Boston Harbor Casino, so be sure and check that video out. Also, if you have any good Lerm puns, be sure and leave them in the comments. And again, thanks for watching.